The first 53 is in, and boy, were there some surprises. Plus, a surprisingly positive update on Brian Robinson Jr. That's all coming up next, right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast. Come and join us.
Locked On Commanders, your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome aboard. And Commanders fans, we say a special hello to you right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast, covering the Washington Commanders, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and, of course, on the WUSA 9 Plus app. WUSA 9 has a game-changing app, your CBS affiliate in Washington, D.C., Check them out and download the WUSA 9 Plus app from your Roku or Amazon Fire Stick. No matter how you're joining us, again, we thank you for making us your first listen and or view of the day. My co-host David Harrison covers the Commanders for Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation and Commander Country. Still under the weather, getting better. Should be back with us at some point here, but certainly wish him the very best. He is normally covering your Commanders for the Sports Illustrated outlet that we just mentioned. I'm Chris Russell, one half of the Russell and Medhurst show on the Team 980, Monday through Friday from 9 to noon p.m. Eastern Time, or anytime on demand, along with this show on the Audacy app. When we're not here or there, check out David at dharrison82, me on Twitter at Russellmania621, and the show at LO Commanders. Locked On Commanders is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, guys, we're breaking down the offensive side and the initial 53. And again, by the time you watch this, by the time you listen to this, it may have changed already. We can do what we can do. We can control what we can control. Here's what it is as of 7:30 Eastern Time on Tuesday evening. I tried to wait as long as I could to record this and get it up in time for our normal schedule. It is what it is. So just understand that it could have changed already, but this is where we're at, again, as of 7:30 Eastern Time on Tuesday evening. On the offensive side of the ball, the Commanders took an initial 27 players. 27, a number that I thought was almost impossible to think of. And yet that's exactly what David predicted on our last episode. If you missed that, we're going to go through it, review, match up with what happened on Monday night and Tuesday before the 4 o'clock Eastern Time deadline, and tell you what David had, tell you what I had, and what the Commanders did. Again, David was dead on at 27 offensive players on the initial 53. All right, so let's get to it, guys. Quarterback, that's easy, right? Carson Wentz, Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, 3 quarterbacks. That's what the Commanders did. That's what David and I both had. That's easy. I think that's what everybody had. I can't imagine anybody had anything different. Now at running back, some people were surprised by this. I don't know why. They weren't listening to Locked On Commanders or me on the radio. Brian Robinson Jr., more on him coming up. Great news there. Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and ding, 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 your 4th running back on the initial 53 is Jonathan Williams. Now, I had talked about Jared Patterson on the last episode. I thought they might ultimately go there instead of Jonathan Williams because Patterson had looked a little bit more impressive in games, had certainly toughened up a little bit. They went with Williams, who, if you guys have been paying attention, and I hope that you have, we have been talking about on this particular podcast for a while. I've told you every chance I've got. He was on my preseason 53 or my pre-training camp 53 that we did with David. David picked him as well on this 53. We both had all four running backs, Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and Jonathan Williams, ultimately on our 53-man projections that we did on the last episode, even though, again, I was fearing that they would go with Jared Patterson. Not fearing's the wrong word. I was thinking they might surprise a little bit and go with Brian Robinson, with Jared Patterson, but instead they hold true and go with the more veteran back in Jonathan Williams. Now, again, we will get into some of the semantics of Brian Robinson, but just suffice to say he had to be carried through on the 53 so that they had options. Now, let's go to wide receiver. They chose Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Cam Sims, De'Ami Brown, and Dax Milne for a total of 6. That means guys like Alex Erickson, Marcon Michel, and others on the cutting room floor. Matt Cole, not a surprise there. However, David matched up with McLaurin, Samuel, Dotson, Sims, De'Ami, and Dax Milne. So David hit it exactly right. He had also Alex Erickson. Excuse me. He did not have Alex Erickson. I put the wrong note in. I had the same as David, those 6, which is exactly what Washington did. Again, Milne, Brown, Sims, Dotson, Samuel, McLaurin. I had just wondered if they were going to take a 7th because of Alex Erickson and the kickoff return thing, and how bad that was during preseason, and losing Danny Johnson, which we'll get to in a sec, and so on and so forth. And Dax Milne hadn't returned an NFL. Ultimately, they go with 6, choosing Dax Milne over Alex Erickson. So again, that's something to keep in mind. And we mentioned Danny Johnson. We'll get to that in the defensive side of the picture. So 6 wide receivers there. Meanwhile, at tight end, Logan Thomas, Cole Turner, John Bates. Everybody had those 3. What nobody had, including David and myself, 5 tight ends. 5 on the initial 53, which is absurdly unheard of. Now, I don't expect this to continue. I don't expect this to last long. Probably, again, by the time you listen or watch this, it might have already changed. Curtis Hodges and Armani Rogers both make the initial 53, which tells you they are very, very concerned about the health, as they should be, of their 3 top tight ends who have all battled injury, and Logan Thomas, of course, coming back. But Turner and Bates have battled constant injury over the last several weeks in training camp and in the preseason. So 5 tight ends is something I don't think, again, anybody could have predicted. David had the 4, but not Curtis Hodges. I had 3. No Curtis Hodges and no Armani Rogers. I was way off. You'll see why. You'll see why when we get to the defensive side of the ball. All right, on the offensive line, Charles Leno, Andrew Norwell, Chase Roulier, Trey Turner, Sam Cosmi, Cornelius Lucas, Sadiq Charles, Chris Paul, and Wes Schweitzer are your 9 offensive linemen on the initial roster. David had 10, all of those guys right, but he added Keith Ismail as the 10th, and they did not take Keith Ismail. They actually put him on injured reserve, so he's out for the year, probably get an injury settlement and be a free agent. Meanwhile, I had everyone on the list for 9, not Keith Ismail, but I said the strong possibility is that they might add a 10th in terms of a veteran. Again, that could be figured out here over the next 24 to 48 hours. So what they did was they had 27 total on offense. That's the exact number that David Harrison picked. 27 on offense. I only had 25. I got to be honest with you, stunned. 27 on offense, something I've never heard of. But again, I think it's temporary placeholder type situation, specifically at tight end. All right, we'll see what happens. Coming up, we'll lock in on the defense. That's right. We're doing that next, right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast. But first, guys, it is Chris Russell for Our friends at LinkedIn. That's right. LinkedIn, as you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team, just like the Commanders needed what they hope to be the right people on their team. You need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders, to get off the blocks, to get off to a strong start. Let's just say 4-0 out of the gates, right? Would be a good month of September for the El Commandors, and it would be good for you to have the right people again on your small business team because you have much less margin for error, just like the Commanders. All right, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to, and they're doing it faster and for free. Why don't you create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over, check this out, 810 million people. Then you add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can find you the right people to hire. Again, simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly navigate through, prioritize who you want to interview, and then hire them. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? How about that, right? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. As you see on your screen, those of you that are watching, that's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. And we also now tell you about our friends at Prize Picks. That's right. New sponsor, new partner. We've been telling you about them the last couple of episodes. If you're looking for fun in a competitive fashion, guys, look no more. It's right here at Prize Picks and prizepicks.com. They are daily fantasy action where you can make entries on Prize Pick that allow you to challenge yourself on player generated projections that are generated by the good people at prizepicks.com. Here's what you do. You pick between 2 and 5 players. You go more or less on their statistical projection. All the big college football action is coming up. We've been telling you about the Thursday slate. Man, the Saturday slate. Oh, I can't wait for that. Arkansas, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Baby, it is on. Say you want Talia Tagovailoa with the Maryland Terrapins. Go for it. Absolutely hook it up. But you could also take a shot at players for rushing yards, receiving yards, and much, much more. Say you want to only pick 2 players. Maybe you want to pick 4 or 5. Pick between 2 and 5. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. It's that simple. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Every sport is available. Again, college football this weekend, and then it is on next Thursday for the National Football League. Hop aboard prizepicks.com. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe, and fast withdrawal. Currently operational in over 30 states and Canada, but you can always join in on the fun at prizepicks.com. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 when you use the promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, Prize Picks is going to give you 100. If you deposit 50, Prize Picks will give you 50. Don't forget to use that promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. All right, guys, we welcome you back. Thanks again for making us your first listen and your first view each and every day. So we continue along here on the Locked On Commanders podcast with this, the initial 53 for the defense. So there were really no surprises up front here. The defensive line shook out like this, 9 total. That is what I had. David had a true 9. Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, Shaka Toney, F.A. Obata, Daniel Wise, and Fedarian Mathis. That's your 9. Now, David had a true 9, but included 10, but a couple of the names that he had didn't make it. Justin Hamilton and David Botta, the international player exception player, both were cut. Maybe we'll see if both come back on the practice squad. Don't know. But he had everyone else. I had all 9 defensive linemen exactly right. I had David's, the normal first 7 that he had: Daniel Wise, Casey Toohill, Fedarian Mathis, James Smith-Williams, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and I had Shaka Toney and F.A. Obata added to the mix. So I didn't get a lot of things, or as many things right as I was hoping, but I got that right. 9 for 9, baby, on the defensive line. All right, we move ahead. And this is where the weird and wacky stuff started. So the Washington Commanders took 5 total linebackers. I think most people had them taking 4. I know David and I both had them taking 4. They took Cole Holcomb, Jamin Davis, David Hold the Mustard Mayo, Dejon Harris out of Arkansas, and Milo Eifler over Khaleke Hudson. That was the big cut in the linebacker group. Milo Eifler, I had him on my quartet of linebacker projections on the last episode, along with Cole Holcomb, Jamin Davis, I should say, and David Mayo. I had Milo Eifler as the 4th. I did not have Dejon Harris on. Neither did David, but David also had Khaleke Hudson over Milo Eifler and or Dejon Harris. So we were both wrong on the number. We both missed out on Dejon Harris. I got Eifler right. David had Khaleke Hudson. So you take that for what it's worth. Now, we'll see if Khaleke Hudson can come back on the practice squad or if he gets claimed by somebody else. Meanwhile, in the defensive backfield, I originally went with 11. And the Washington Commanders, while most everybody had them taking 6 corners, except for David. I'm sorry. David had 6. Some people had 5. I had 6. They took 4 on the initial roster. Benjamin St-Juste, William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, and Christian Holmes, the rookie 7th rounder. That means both 7th round rookies both made the roster because of Chris Paul. David had Fuller, William Jackson III, Benjamin St-Juste, Christian Holmes, and Danny Johnson and Corn Elder. I agreed with him on all 6 of those picks. The Washington Commanders cut Danny Johnson and Corn Elder on Tuesday morning. To the surprise of many, maybe you could have seen one of those guys getting cut and going with 5 corners and maybe adding a 6th. None of us saw both of those guys being cut. Danny Johnson struggled in camp and in the preseason. Corn Elder did not, but yet both got whacked initially. So we were both wrong on the number, on the guys, what have you. We will see, again, improvements made to that particular position area, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, if we're being totally honest, when they preached last year about how guys were missing parts of the voluntary workouts and there for the miscommunication. And, that's a reason why we stunk, why we didn't communicate. And now we're going to whack guys, which, again, you shouldn't take guys just to take guys. But now we're going to whack guys and bring in totally new guys who haven't been here not only for the May and June part of the offseason program, they haven't been here for training camp or the preseason games. Again, the more these coaches talk, sometimes they, quite honestly, shoot themselves in the foot and put their foot in their mouth. Quite honestly, that was a Jack Del Rio gem, by the way. But I think Ron Rivera has agreed with him on that. At safety, Washington took Cameron Curl, Bobby McCain, Derek Forrest, Defo, Percy Butler, and Jeremy Reeves. So they went with a total of 5. David had 4 safeties, leaving Jeremy Reeves off. I had the 5 safeties, so I hit that right. After butchering the cornerback position, I had Jeremy Reeves joining the other 4. So for a total of 5 and the exact 5. So I did okay at linebacker, at defensive line, and at safety. I completely butchered corner. Again, most people did too. So for whatever. So I had 24 on defense. I had a projected 24 on defense, 25 on offense, and 3 specialists. Remember, I went short thinking, hey, all these guys don't deserve to make the roster. I'm going to leave short and just not have to cut somebody after the 4 whatever. They didn't do it that way. They went with 53. They went 27 on offense, 23 on defense, 3 specialists, which means ding, ding, ding. David got the exact roster breakdown on the initial 53-man roster correct because he had 27 on offense, 23 on defense, and 3 specialists. All right, coming up, a very nice update on Commanders rookie running back Brian Robinson Jr. and more clarity on his future. That's next, right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast. But first, we tell you guys about our friends at Dave. That's right, Dave. They are awesome. They are helping you out in a pinch. And we're all feeling it a little bit with inflation and gas prices, even though they're starting to come down level with us. You've been in a situation like we all have at some point in our lives. Some of us are going through it right now. I know at times I am. You probably are, right? I mean, we have to be honest. Some of us are living paycheck to paycheck. That's why we have to work so hard and fight, claw, and scratch. Maybe you're a little tight on cash right now. Maybe you will be in the future, in the near future. We'll see. Maybe you can only afford to put a few gallons of gas in your tank, or you got another save the date opportunity, a wedding, anniversary, celebration, what have you. And you're wondering how you're going to afford a gift or the travel to perhaps get there. That's where Dave can help. If you're living paycheck to paycheck or struggling to make ends meet, it can be really stressful, guys, as you know, when unexpected expenses come up, car repair, what have you, house repair sometimes. Now Dave can help you get out of a pinch when you really need it. Hindsight is 2020, and you can't change that. And the past. But what if you could get a little help from your future self? Maybe you'd borrow a little bit of cash, and now you can with our friends at Dave. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill up your tank, buy that wedding gift, or catch up on bills, maybe put it towards a little bit of a vacation for yourself. You can finally tackle the expenses that have been stressing you out without any hangups. There's no interest and no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app and to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and you need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Dave, sign up for an extra cash account, get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Future you will thank you. All right, we're back right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast, wrapping it up for this midweek edition. Hopefully, again, David will be back with us soon, again, as he has been under the weather. Let's get you the positive update on Brian Robinson Jr. We put it up on LO Commanders on my Twitter as well, at WrestleMania621, at LO Commanders. You might have seen it already. Video that the Commanders generated. Brian Robinson not only out of the hospital, but guys, he was in the facility on Tuesday afternoon, after practice. And in part of the video and their little video clips, you see running backs coach Randy Jordan coming up the stairs that I've been up and down many of times, and all excited, saying, hey, you got my text message, that type of thing. Then Jennifer King, the assistant running backs coach, comes up, gives Brian Robinson a hug, has a short moment. Then you see Ron Rivera greeting Brian Robinson, who's on crutches, who has his right knee wrapped. However, the good news is, according to multiple reports, Ron Rivera said it as well. NFL Network had this as well. I don't want to shortchange anybody. Maybe somebody else did. I don't know. The bullet avoided any major problem spots, veins, arteries, ligaments. So that's really good news. Really good news, especially when you consider what is in the knee area, right? So the possibility exists with right now, as of this moment, Brian Robinson Jr. not being put on any list. Again, that can change with more medical evaluation. He could be put on IR, or as we talked about yesterday, or on the last episode, he could be put on the NFI list. We will see. But for right now, he's not on any list, which means he's eligible to play week 1. Unlikely, right? Hard to see that. But maybe he comes back for week 2 at Detroit, maybe week 3 at home against Philadelphia. Who knows? We will see where this goes from here. But right now, it is encouraging that he's on the 53. He's not automatically out. He's in the building, out of the hospital, obviously, on crutches, and that the knee apparently did not sustain major damage. Again, very, very positive news. Good luck, Brian Robinson. Everybody's pulling for you. And obviously, we hope to see you on the field soon. But more importantly, take care of yourself both physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I know he has plenty of support. All right. We wrap up this particular episode of the Locked On Commanders podcast with this. We reported this actually on at LO Commanders. Yes. And then I added a note to it at WrestleMania 621. Commanders head equipment manager, Drew Hampton. And this is a name that's not going to ring true to many of you, but head equipment manager, an important role, has left the organization for a new job with Maryland University Athletics. That was his former spot. He's worked with Jack Del Rio back in Jacksonville, so he's been affiliated with Jack Del Rio for a long time in the NFL. And again, he's from Maryland. Now back at Maryland. I was told it was a family move. Of course, again, living in Maryland, big commute to Ashburn every day. You're working long hours, ridiculous hours. So congratulations to Drew Hampton, now no longer the head equipment manager with the Commanders. The team has not made this official. He's still, as of Tuesday night, on the website. I did confirm it with a team source. So it's good. Drew has it on his Facebook page. He has the Maryland logo that many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. I have not personally spoken to Drew. I'm trying and efforting to do so. So we will see where that goes from there. Now, on Wednesday, and again, some of you may not be watching this until Wednesday afternoon, we're expected to get an opportunity to talk to Eric Stokes, basically their director of player personnel. I will not be able to be there for that. I'm going to try and shoot for the opportunity to speak to Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew, which is scheduled for right around 4 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesday afternoon, according to the latest schedule that I have. So we will hopefully have some reaction for you from all three of those dignitaries and officials on their decisions. And we hope to have some different roster updates. For a full list of who they actually cut, check out at LO Commanders. Check out at WrestleMania 621. I'm not sure if David has it up there, but again, you can check out all of those sites. Just don't have time to go down the full list, but we told you who's on and who we had and the roster breakdown. And again, please remember, this is not the final 53. This is the initial 53. All right, that's going to do it for us on this particular edition, Commanders fans. We want to thank you for making us your first listen and your first view of the day. Come on back for the next episode. Again, hopefully David will be back with us, feeling a little bit better, but still under the weather. So we hope he and his family are doing okay. Now make the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast your second listen and view. Find the intellectual fantasy expert. I love intellectual. Vinny Iyer, who brings over 20 years of NFL expertise with a unique angle to give you the moves that no one else has. Get ready for your fantasy draft with Locked On Fantasy Football. If you want to hop in, it's 301-615-3577. That's 301-615-3577 on the voicemail. Or if you want to email, LockedOnWashingtonCommanders@gmail.com. That's going to do it for us again today, Commanders fans. For my partner, David Harrison, who is normally covering the Washington Commanders for SI.com's Fan Nation and Commander Country. I'm Chris Russell, one half of the Russell and Medhurst Show, which you can hear Monday through Friday, 9 to noon Eastern Time on the Team 980 and the Audacy app. We are free and available on all platforms. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. Thank you again for joining us right here on the Locked On Commanders podcast.